reminder, make sure you're selecting everyone from the drop-down menu. And with that, let's get started. Welcome to our business webinar program presented by our partners at Bank of America. Today's session is AI for customer acquisition, and we will learn what Agentic AI actually is, how to use it to generate leads and respond to those new customers quickly. And I'm so glad to tackle this today since AI questions come up in many of our sessions. I'm Desiree Brown, Senior Manager, Digital Content and Education here at the Tory Burch Foundation, and I am excited to welcome Jacqueline Tangorra. She is back. She joined us for a session last year, I believe, AI for business potential of AI. And 7 years ago, she after building a career 7 years at PricewaterhouseCoopers, she founded Omni Business Intelligence Solutions, OBIS, in 2021. And her innovative use of generative AI has earned her recognition and for her firm in Business Insider, CNBC, and NASDAQ. So after Jacqueline's presentation, we will have plenty of time for Q&A, so be sure to ask your questions in the Q&A box, and we will do our best to get to as many as we can. But we invite you to take notes, and as a reminder, today's session will be recorded, so please watch your inboxes for the replay link. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we'll get started.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me? Testing? Good?
Yes, you sound great.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Tory Burch Foundation, for having me back. It's a pleasure to be back. I love talking about these topics, and you guys have such a wonderful community. So I'm very much excited to be able to share some insights, hear some questions, and hopefully provide some thoughtful things to think about as we all look at growing our businesses and in this AI heavy disruptive world we're in, with plenty of opportunities for small businesses to thrive and take advantage of what's out there today. So with that being said, I have a presentation prepared, so we'll go through some slides. This is an interactive session, so please feel free to ask questions throughout. And we'll do a Q&A as well at the end. So if we're not able to get to all of them throughout the presentation, we'll be sure to get to them at the end. And then similar to what I've done in the past, we're going to be offering the Tory Burch Foundation, people who are in attendance right now, within the next 2 weeks, a free consultation for 30 minutes. You can have our calendar and booking link after the fact if you want to talk about questions as it relates to your business, how AI can help you, some of the tools, technologies you might be exploring, and see how we can thought partner and maybe provide some additional help around that topic. And if you're not able to get some of your questions answered today. Okay, so I'll go through and share my slides in a second. So let's just do share. Okay. And just a quick pulse check. Can you guys see my slides? Think so? Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so while I kind of do a little bit of a background, what I'd like to ask of you in the chat is there's 2 questions. So kind of give me an idea as to really some of the AI level of usage, maturity, adoption, and just maybe how you guys are getting leads today in business. So I'm going to pop these 2 questions into the chat, and I have some suggested replies that will help me kind of understand where you guys are at today. So let me just do this, put this in, everyone. Okay. So first question, how are you guys getting leads today? Really just kind of helps me understand, what kind of social channels, or if it's more organic or Google or paid search type of things. And then what kind of AI are you using today? So you're going to hear obviously things around different tools, technologies. At this point, when I did our initial presentation about a year or 2 back, we focused a lot around ChatGPT. We're going to focus around some other tools, technologies. One in particular I use in my business that might be helpful for you guys to think about, and then obviously answer any questions you might have around some of those technologies. And then, we'll go through some frameworks to kind of help frame some of your thought around how to approach agentic AI, how that can help with customer acquisition. And just answer as many questions as we can. So with that being said, I'll do a little bit of background. So Desiree, thank you for the kind introduction. Yeah, a little bit about myself. Started my career at PricewaterhouseCoopers. I have a CPA in New York State. Started as a financial auditor, did that for about 5 years. In the year 2020, I woke up, had a a big awakening that I love data and business intelligence, and really just wanted to pivot that. So wound up doing a pivot within PwC at the time and focus more on enterprise transformation and working on different projects, working as an AI product owner, as a data strategist, business intelligence lead. And really all that just means is helping companies use their data to grow, have automations in place that help them enable that growth, and just be that thought partner for a lot of the clients that worked with at the time. In parallel to that career journey of mine, I was actually building my own company, Omni Business Intelligence Solutions, on the side, and used a lot of the Upwork platform to actually kind of fuel some of that growth. And within the last few years, acquired around 200 clients specifically in the business intelligence, AI, data automation type space. And, for me, it's something that I feel so passionate and strong about, because as someone who's seen the enterprise side of business and also sees the small business side, this is such an important time, I believe, in history, where we as in small business owners have the ability to really do some incredible things, and without going crazy and expanding out our workforce, and being really strategic with how we can select certain tools, technologies, and processes and apply them to our businesses. So I'm very excited to share some of what I've seen, and some ideas, and hopefully spur some thoughts for you guys as well. Okay, so we'll start with a framework that I like to kind of use to get some wheels turning, is this data to decisions framework. So just so that we kind of compartmentalize and understand, right, data is really the fundamental. It's the fundamental piece to anything that we want to do with AI. It's garbage in, garbage out. Bad data, bad automations, bad generative AI, bad ChatGPT outputs, right? So the way we start to think about that from that lens is really, really important, because anything we want to do in our businesses when it comes to artificial intelligence or building out automations or agents, it really comes down to how clean your data is. How is it structured? What does it look like? Is it providing the right level of insight that you're going to need and want in order to make that key business decision? So a framework that we really kind of encourage our clients at least to think through is predictive AI. I'm sure, as you guys have seen or in the past, is really related to like more forecasting type of forecasting, and like maybe like recommendation engines. So for example, if you guys watch Netflix, I'm sure you've seen things like, if you like this show, you would like to watch this show, right? That's predictive AI. It's using a recommendation algorithm to provide you with a next step, or something that might be something that you would enjoy, because they kind of created a profile around who you are, and they use different data points in order to find some other things that you might like as well. Generative AI is obviously something that most of us have experienced as new within the last few years because of the explosion of ChatGPT, November 30th, 2022. And really, that is very language centric. It's so important to understand the language component, how to speak to these models, right? Language is key, because these models are built as next word predictors, meaning they're statistical models. They're based off of the type of words you choose to input is going to help the model start to understand how it should respond to you. So it's very language centric. And that's why prompt engineering and prompts in general are so important, because that's the basis for how these models generate outputs. And the last one is something that came up in the last couple of years, specifically really heavily this year, is Agentic AI. And the difference between, something like a ChatGPT and like more of like an agent really comes down to ChatGPT within its native form kind of stops at providing the output itself. Like it's a generation, you type something, you get something. But an agent really does more than that. It's supposed to, in theory, and when it's well configured, right, take you across multiple steps in that value chain or whatever you're trying to accomplish. So as you think about hiring someone, you think about all the things you would need to teach them to complete a certain task in your business, right? There's multiple touch points and steps that take you from point A to point B. The reason why Agentic AI is so important and something that everyone's thinking about is because in order to actually move the needle on a process, you need someone who can, or something that can think about all the decision points that happen in that process itself. That's incredibly important, because that's where you see tremendous ROI, right? That's where you can genuinely step back and say, wow, we fully automated this process. We have an agent now that's handling 20% of our sales intake, or our customer service, customer experience, finances, things like that. As you think about what those use cases are, it's more than just generation of text. It's actually creating workflows that can replace the need to have all these different touch points being managed and being a manual process by maybe a human being or a group or a team. So something that we'll focus on today. Before I keep going, let me just take a scan through the chat. So we have awesome. Okay, word of mouth, subscription, word of CRM, ChatGPT. So that's really interesting. Okay, so ChatGPT in the context of AI usage. Let me ask you guys this, and this is something that we'll touch upon as well. Just give me a yes or no in the chat. Have any of you received a lead in to your business from ChatGPT yet? And I asked that question because in the last few months we have, and it was a signal for me. It told me everything about how you need to position yourself on the internet and what you need to do. Okay, so some no's. You see yes once. Okay, no, yep. So it's definitely something that it's going to happen more and more and more than you actually realize in the next few years. And one of the slides we'll get to in a little bit is talking about how to position your brand online in this new AI age to be recommended by the AI. Because it's definitely, it was a cultural shift for me, for someone to tell me I found you through AI. And I know, like, I plan my vacations with ChatGPT. I use it as much as I reasonably can. But to hear someone coming and wanting to do business with us because they found us through it was really like positively alarming and made me think about our presence online. So something that we'll absolutely kind of talk through in a little bit. All right, so as I was talking before, main differences here, you have agentic AI, you have automation. What is their main difference? Well, automation has always been around. It's been around for a while. Workflows, if-then statements, rules. So I'll ask you guys in the chat as well, how many of you guys have automations in your business today? So just yes, we have automations. Okay. So you probably have certain things, maybe email lists or things, certain rules, prescribed rules, workflows. Maybe it's Calendly integrations. When this person books, send them an automated thank you. So those things, we don't want to sleep on those things because there's actually more of it being built out in a lot of the technology stack that we use as small business owners. And there's value in that, right? We don't need to all just run to agentic AI and completely forget about the fact that automations have tremendous value as well. But the difference really is, as I kind of shared before, is that agentic AI, because it is based off of, and it has in its central hub of the core of it, has language model capabilities. So it almost creates like this brain, this digital like AI brain that knows your business, that knows the use case for what it's supposed to do in that workflow, and that can help you personalize an outreach or can help you handle multiple things because it knows what it needs to achieve and it's not going to stop until it gets there. So that's the type of AI that we're seeing, in business now. And it takes a little bit to obviously find use cases and to configure it, but it's incredibly powerful because that's really where a lot of us want to be able to take some of the business processes that we have. So it's dynamic, right? An agentic process should be something that's self-learning. It should be something that you look at and you say, okay, it knows a lot about my business, it has context. If there's something you should 100% remember about the world that we're headed into with AI and generative AI being as explosive as it is context is truly king in this world because it's what governs the AI's ability to understand all the nuance of your business. I'm sure I can speak on most of our behalf when I say we are all experts in our own businesses. We know how our businesses work. We know the ups of them, they know the downs of them, everything. But could you imagine artificial intelligence understanding that level of depth as well and starting to get it to a point where you could actually step back and start to trust some of the process and the thinking around how it makes decisions on your behalf? That's the level of impact that a lot of enterprise organizations are looking to achieve, as well as small businesses. So we'll talk through some of that in a little bit as well. Okay. So marketing, as I started to think about what we're seeing and how agents are really starting to impact acquisitions, the funnel, the marketing funnel itself. To me, I look at the marketing, the traditional marketing methodology, is really a funnel, right? It's a traditional linear path where you have the awareness, you have interest, you have consideration, you have intent, purchasing, loyalty, all these different touch points where you can start to measure where there's impact in some of that. And so as I think about, what does our future kind of look like in a world where you don't necessarily have just these siloed processes in your marketing funnel, but now you configure agents to help you with acquisition, to help you with nurturing, to help you with qualifying those leads, with onboarding those leads, nurturing them, experimenting, doing, just real-time feedback, offering loyalty offers for existing or pre-existing, clients stuff. So, it's something that it shouldn't just be the sequential order. And an agentic world doesn't let it be a sequential order because there's so much data that gets collected from each one of those touch points that when you have a context spine or hub or a memory platform within the AI itself, understanding what's happening at each one of these different areas of the funnel at the same time, and maybe it's one client's in one area, but then you had another client that was in similar profile and segmentation, it can really learn and understand what's working and what's not working. And I think that's what fascinates me the most around the world that we're headed into with marketing and AI and everything, is that you're really not you're not siloed anymore. When you use these types of automations or agentic workflows, you have the ability to start to contextualize things, and things loop back. Like the learnings really loop back into the AI when it's well configured. That will help you start to understand like some of the things that happened in one area of the hub itself, informing how we do it better in another area. So it's self-learning in that sense. And, it can really start to sense the signals of customers, maybe even before you can. It can synthesize that, do creating and test campaigns, outreach, qualification of leads. When you build that hub, the difference is it can consider a lot of information at the same time around your business versus waiting for each individual touch point to occur. And let's say you have a prospect that you're looking to acquire, and they fit the same profile or segmentation, profile of another one you've won in the past. Wouldn't you want all that data around that winning, winning funnel or winning, opportunity that you had to kind of inform some of what you should be applying and contextualizing it to that new lead that you have? So to me, I see it's just such an incredible way and a cost-effective way to apply learnings from other areas of our business and keep it so fresh and evolutionary, in the sense where we don't feel like we're making decisions or we're seeing data in fragmented silos. So to me, I see the marketing funnel shifting. I see it becoming hub and spoke. I see it becoming dynamic, where there's a lot of information that gets thought about and contextualized at the same time, as opposed to kind of just waiting for those different sequential touch points to unfold. One of the, and I guess I'll also ask you guys in the chat too, I'd love to hear this. Why do you guys think that leads are leaking? If you guys are getting opportunities coming in, why do you think they might be leaking out in the funnel? So one of the things that we see is having fragmented data sources, right? Having, maybe it's CRM, maybe someone came in and then 30 days later, they came in through your website, and now all of a sudden they're DMing you on LinkedIn or Instagram or something like that. And that's going to happen, right? We can't solve for all of the different touch points, but there are platforms that kind of help you stitch it together. But the reality is that leads are slipping through the cracks every day for a lot of businesses, whether it's forms, ads, referrals, different marketplaces, and sometimes they don't always map cleanly into your CRM. And that fragmentation really just kind of means that you don't have the complete visibility into what the lead capture actually looks like in your business. And then obviously your follow-up is probably delayed because you didn't know that someone reached out to you on one platform, and then a few days went by, so you weren't able to kind of act quick. And from also the standpoint of just selling, being able to prioritize the effort that goes into low probability prospects, like we need to be smart with our time, right, as well. And I think that's where AI and agentic AI can be really, really helpful, is understanding like, what are the high quality leads? What are the qualifications we should have in place, and start to use AI in a way that helps us save our time, helps us understand how we should be using that time appropriately, and making sure that, you know, if we have so much volume going on, the less personalization we have. So some of the tools I'll show you in a little bit is going to show ways that we can personalize some of that outreach as well. Because that's important, right? I think we all know that in order to stand out in today's world, you have to personalize things. And I will say firsthand, I get a lot of spam in my inbox, right? And I get things that just don't feel like they're connecting with me. So the double-edged sword here is, yes, we should use these tools to help support the acquisition, but also we have to be mindful of the messaging, because especially when you're in a business that is very important to sound humane, to sound like a human being. That's important too. You don't want to kind of be written off for just using automations or agents to do outreach or to nurture and stuff. There's a balance to be had with that, and that balance can be infused into the process that you build. There are templates out there in today's world on some of the tools I'll walk through in a bit that can help you support with standing up an agentic automation. But it's really up to us to make it feel like us. Because if people don't feel like they're actually interacting with a business that is aware of not just their pain points, but also has like just a cultural, like a humane component to it. I mean, let's be real. And there's a proliferation of AI generated content on the internet today. We have to stand out, right? We should use these things to help our businesses, but we also still need to have that touch, that personalization, that human side, because I think that's what's also going to stand out tremendously for a lot of business owners in the future as well. And so, you know, as I think about what agents can do for an issue like this, you know, agents can help maps through certain things. So if you get leads kind of coming in, maybe it's the same type of lead, but they use one name on one platform, there's an intelligence layer here. It can start to recommend, or at least tell you, hey, listen, you had these 2 touch points, and it's the same person we think it is, or it's not. Like, there's ways of consolidation. There's ways of augmenting your CRM. So what I mean by that is there's probably a lot of data being collected around prospects that's not data that necessarily you would purchase that data, or not like basic data, like I like to call like the data that is not easy to derive, but it's there. It's the intangible. It's I interacted with this person, and here's the things that, you know, I perceive around this particular prospect, and starting to create data profiles around that type of information is part of the context I was talking about. That's going to be able to enrich some of the records that you guys might have in your CRM systems. And when you have enriched data in your CRM, your agents are only going to be more powerful, right? It's garbage in, garbage out. You have high quality data, high quality agentic processes when they are well configured. So, you know, I don't look at AI as just saving time. I look at it as ability to stop revenue leakage by, you know, making sure that you're not losing deals because you weren't able to get in touch with them quickly, or more importantly, that, you know, you're able to support the journey from a personal standpoint, and step back, grow your businesses, but also infuse all the intelligence that you have around your businesses into these agents. And sometimes that takes time, right? It's not an overnight task, don't get me wrong. But when you do it right, you will see ROI with it, and you will start to see that you can step away, or you can kind of let a process be, a portion of it at least be kind of pushed to another function, where you don't have to necessarily be so intense with having to manage every aspect of the acquisition life cycle. So as someone who's gotten leads through ChatGPT, and someone who's built, you know, not me all the time, but my team kind of building some of these agents, I see it's an important balance to be authentic when you're using AI, and staying true to your brand and your message and who you are, because that's actually one of the most important things in the age of AI. We cannot lose sight of that. So use cases. So as we think about, sales and marketing, obviously, is just going to be incredibly predominantly important for small businesses, right? We're always trying to fill the pipeline. Knowing that there's abilities to get auto capture, email sequences, social media content, if there's abandoned cart recovery. So how many of you guys have ever had instances where you walked away and then you get an email saying, hey, do you want to keep shopping? Those things, right? AI generated captions, images, hashtags. So there's a ton of stuff. Customer experience, operations, insights, reporting. I mean, I'll just ask you guys in the chat quickly. How many of you guys are experimenting with any of these use cases today? So we have some questions on. We got some great questions. All right. Let me just see chat. So use cases, because we have customer support, admin tasks. I mean, I'd love to kind of hear how you guys are using. If you want to speak in the context of ChatGPT, that's fine. If you have other tools or technologies or automations you're using. Okay, I need to, that's why I'm here. Yes, I'm using experimenting, chatting with customers, good. The abandoned cart use is clever. Yes, so think about all the reasons why you would not close a deal. And you need to build automations around that, right? If it's pricing, if it's, our experience, our conversion path on our website's not clear. And by the way, you can literally use ChatGPT. You can go into agent mode on ChatGPT and you can ask it to analyze your website for conversion effectiveness. Say, how good is my website as providing clear direction for prospects that come to my website to actually do business with me? Do they know what they're getting? Do they know what they're buying? Is the value clear? And ask those questions to ChatGPT. Have ChatGPT agent mode do an analysis on your own website, because that might provide some interesting ways in which you might want to prioritize your efforts on building automations for your business as well. Let me just kind of read this. Chatting, several, zero admin. Yeah, writing and refining, very, very important, right? I mean, not just for emails, but for proposals, SOPs, outreach and stuff. So let me take a pause and see if I can answer some of these questions quick. So we have, all right, so we have agent mode, and let me just see this one for LinkedIn. That is a mode that, it's funny you asked that question. There's actually a couple softwares out there, and I can recommend them after offline as well, that work well on specifically for LinkedIn. So if LinkedIn's a big business platform where you generate leads, I can give you some on that. Deep research, 100%, web search. I don't know how many of you guys pay for, there's different modes to the $20 a month to like the regular one, and then there is a 200 a month. I think there's a lot of requirement around using that for more like heavily academic or research or things. I use that for more in-depth research, but browsing is great. The agent mode is great for just being able to scrape your own, like do your own audits. I tell my clients all the time, like, you need to know how AI thinks of you on the internet today. I'll literally ask AI to go and audit me and tell me, how do I appear? How is my message clear? What do I do? Like, what is my moat? What differentiates me in the market? And have it paint your story or your business story. And really just, if that's something you like, that's great, right? But if you're not happy with some of those results, well, then you should kind of go back and forth and ask it to help optimize. How do you create more clarity over your offerings? How do you find ways to create more buzz or attention into your brand business? So I'm sure you guys are all using it, experimenting it, and iteratively using it in different ways. But I always say, like, use AI to help yourself with AI, right? Just that basic thought of really using it to help you understand how it thinks of you. What will be better to use, Agentic AI or RPA? I think they both have incredible usage. I use, clients have asked us to do RPA as well, build out some of those workflows. Agentic can act autonomously from end to end, doesn't have to spin up a server or desktop all the time. RPA is really, being able to to see it live, being able to follow it and understand what some of the decision points are. And yeah, you might have more clarity and visibility into the agentic process, but it's not always one for one. You can have an agent that doesn't necessarily show you and click everything and what they're doing. You can have an agent that is a workflow that's working in the background of things. So it doesn't always show you what's happening. Even though ChatGPT named it agent mode, that really is just showing you that it's acting autonomously for a sequence of steps. But agent is not always equivalent to being able to watch the process itself.
Jackie,
Yeah.
just really quickly, I know you have still quite a bit to get to, so we're going to wrangle the questions. So you can focus on your presentation. Is that okay?
Okay. I know. It's just I saw a ton come through. So
I know, it's such a hot topic, and we know that
yeah,
we'll always have plenty to go over.
perfect. Okay. So agentic customer acquisition, one of the things that is very important to understand is that, like I said before, it's an infinity pipeline that we're creating here. You want to make sure that you're using AI to create demand, right? Sales and marketing, it's just really, really important when you're trying to generate what that demand looks like. And it's, on the demand creation side, AI agents they're constantly sensing the signal. They have the search intent. They're sensing the social activity. They understand what the buying triggers are. And they have the ability to synthesize those insights around who your audience is and what the problems are that they care about and when they're really ready to engage. So, as you think about building agents, it's important that you have access to, or you write up your own prompts that can help you with demand and generating that demand. Because you might have a certain hypothesis and scoring around what needs to be done, but creating demand is incredibly important. You can use AI to do that. As you kind of look through like the context spine over here, this is what I was talking about before. Being able to have memory. So these terminologies, I'm sure you're starting to see now more with ChatGPT, having memory around your business profile, who you are, what you're okay with, your brand messaging, all of that, having that infused, your compliance requirements as well, your goals. Without that, AI is just noise, right? With it, you're going to get campaigns that are actually helping you with outreach, and they are actually personalized to what it is that you have, your business objectives. And then capturing that demand obviously is one of the difficulties with acquisition. Every signal feeds into account and helps support the AI intelligence itself, whether it's identification or the enriching and prioritization. The agents can help with the outreach. They can converse, they can qualify. I had a workflow we set up once. It was connected to my Slack channel, and I was sleeping and literally woke up to a message on Slack that one of the agents that I set up like 2 weeks ago, because it had like a drip campaign, an outreach and everything. We got a lead back that was interested, and I just woke up and I just left. I was like, okay, it works. Like it really does. It nurtured someone. I saw the email thread that I didn't even watch until I actually read it for a second. I said, oh, this is interesting. Okay, cool. So, and then we got on the phone, we closed it. So, for me, it's incredible to be able to have these types of things in place. And then lastly, just making sure you're measuring these things. So as we think about customer acquisition costs, what is the cost to actually acquire these? What is the spend? Are we putting marketing dollars? What are the conversion rates we want, right? We have to be realistic with what we actually have and what we want, and how creating a workflow can support that. Sales velocity. And these are all just, this is what we're all shooting for, right? Being able to close faster, and being able to make sure that your pipeline is healthy, but you have agentic workflows that can support what your business objectives are. So anytime we are building, or any one of our clients are building a type of agentic workflow for customer acquisition, we challenge them to make sure that it is in line with the business objectives that they have, and the reality check of, does this actually match up with the desired conversion rates that we want to shoot for? Do we have the right messaging in place? All the questions. I mean, that's the challenge, is making sure that the configuration matches what the desired outcomes are. So we'll go through here. So this is actually a client case study. We had a hospital, SaaS, very much in loyalty infrastructure, small go-to-market team. They had high touch outbound. There was no SDR. So we actually brought them to a platform, which I'll show you guys in a little bit, Lindy AI. So if you guys are online, there's a whole bunch of platforms I recommend. But the nuts and bolts of this was that we built 4 agents. We built an agent to help them build out their lead list, enrich it, the hospital directories, LinkedIn profiles, local press mentions. That used to take them hours to do in spreadsheets. And we just built that so that it can continue to run and auto-populate in the back end. Prospect, instead of manually doing Googles, instead of scanning Instagram, we help them understand that they could use an agent to create that and qualify those prospects, doing the actual cold outreach in the markets, drafting the personalization based off of all the lead list and prospect information that we gathered, and then actually helping them set up the meetings itself and linking that and being a part of that process. Now, we don't recommend doing having the AI being a part of the closing process by any means. I firmly believe that needs to be a human being. But it gets you to that point. And I think that was just the eye-opening part with this client, was that we were able to help them generate results immediately. I mean, they saved around 10, 20 hours a week just for their go-to-market lead, which was like hiring an SDR without even having to pay for it. I mean, obviously Lindy AI, I think it's like, I don't know, don't quote me on this, like maybe 30, 40 bucks or something a month. So there's a cost, right? But your ROI is there if your one sale is, more than that. So the cost per meeting dropped because the outreach quality actually went up. Emails weren't getting ignored, they weren't getting bounced. Within the first month, we just saw the pipeline velocity improved. And yeah, I mean, that's what they wanted. That's where we got them. And, I think about how each cycle kind of feeds back into the system. The notes we got from the sales meeting, the prospect meetings fed into the CRM, which meant the agents got smarter with every pass and every touch point. So you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You want to use the different data collection to help you along the way. So some of the agents, I'll go through this quick for sake of time. Some agents we recommend when you're doing customer acquisition: inbound, triage agent, right? There's a lot of things: manually qualifying, routing them, filling out the forms, scoring the leads, understanding, are they talking to the right people? Maybe it's you they need to talk to, maybe you have a rep. But really just, there's a lot of work around that sometimes. Personalizing the outbound, making sure that some teams might be burnt out and they might only be able to write a certain amount of high quality emails in a day. An agent that is trained well can take a ICP list, templates, and take all that business context we spoke about and really just help personalize what those multi-channel cadences are at a greater scale. So you kind of get to scale personalization, but you're using automation to do that under the hood, right? So that's a win. Hopefully you get from that higher reply rates without having to augment your overhead in your business. And then predictive lead scoring, this is something that, mind you, I want to be very honest about the fact that some of these functionalities could very well also exist in some of the tools, like maybe HubSpot offers it. Some of the CRMs that you guys might be in, Zoho, there's features being baked in every day. So you don't always have to go to an outside tool. It's just being aware of what's available to you, right? And knowing that these are capabilities that you would want to understand. Predictive lead scoring, right? Being able to understand the next best actions. This really just uses your historical CRM to help. Automated A/B testing, ad copy. So if you're running paid ads, using AI to score, and also you're going to get data when you start running ads. If you're not converting people, you would want AI to analyze why you're not converting people and start to make changes. So using that, as well. And then just win back automation, really just helping to understand how an agent can help that flow of emails and offers and nudges, and helping to revive revenue along the way based off of all the data it has in your enriched CRM. And then really just, sales and research, right? I think someone said deep research. There's so much research. If you get on a call with a prospect today and you haven't had ChatGPT run a deep research on that person or that company before, I mean, I don't know why people would do that nowadays. The ability to do a full in-depth analysis of people that you're trying to do business with before you meet them, it's a game changer, and it helps with every conversation and touch point that you might want to have in closing those deals. So one of the things I want to share is Lindy AI, and you guys could go online and check out the tool. This is what I use in my business. I think they're based in Palo Alto or San Francisco, and they're a phenomenal company and tool. And if you have questions around privacy and stuff, I would advise you, there's a lot that they're doing. They're certified. There's a lot of things that they have on their privacy policy as well. I know that comes up quite often within these conversations, and it's a rightful conversation to have. AI is still a very gray area for a lot of us, and what's being collected, how it's being used. And many of us have businesses we need to be compliant in. So I would just advise, if you have questions around that, I always point clients to reviewing those policies and just being comfortable with what they're providing and claiming and guaranteeing. And one of the challenges with some of these AI technologies is that privacy policies can change at their own discretion. And it kind of, the burden falls on the business owners, if you will, in just protecting your own brand and business and data. So just kind of always keep that in the back of your mind. I'm sure it is for many of us anyway. But be keen to understand what you sign up for and why you're signing up for, what you're okay with. A lot of these companies, in order to get certified, they have to go through certain work checks and prove certain points around data collection and not using it to train on new data. But laws in the country can change, regulation can change, things certainly can change. So it's always just a best practice to be in the know of what you're signing up for. Now, with this slide, the reason why I find this to be so cool in 2025 is, if we didn't have natural language, if we didn't have the ability to type a prompt in and get an output, we would be stuck hiring developers. And don't get me wrong, I hire developers, I think they're great people, they're very talented. But we would all have to do that through a development sense and build it, with code. The ability now, if you go to Lindy AI, you could probably spin up your first agent before I'm even done with this webinar at 2:00, because that's how easy it is. You type in what you want. Has different templates, and the ability to cut out probably 40 to 60%, maybe more. And if you're somewhat technical savvy, or you're someone that can sit down for 2 hours and watch a YouTube video and learn like that, I think a lot of founders have that grit. You probably will be able to build your own. But majority of the technical is gone, because you can type in natural language what it is that you want, and it actually builds and configures what you're looking for. But you will have to connect to your apps, and that's where the comfortability comes in, right? How comfortable are you syncing your Google world or your Microsoft world to something like this? So, caution with that, of course. But a lot of ROI on some of these case studies that even Lindy has as well, and seeing people around the world using it as a tool. And this is just one of many, right? There's a whole bunch, but this is a leading one that I've noticed lately that's having some big impact. Some of the other tools, so Zapier, I'm sure maybe some of you guys use some workflows. N8N, I presented on this probably to another organization a few months ago. N8N is it's a little bit more technical, but it's a very good one too. And so you'll have access to these slides, kind of understanding like what are the pros and cons of using some of these different low-no code. Low-no code just means you can type it in, or it's simple as, just watching a video and kind of plug and play, but you do not have to be a developer. You do not have to write in Python or, SQL or anything like that to build it. And then, just knowing what's out there. The most important thing I would say is knowing how to talk to these. So as we think about prompting, how to properly. So I gave you guys a little bit of a guide on how to prompt with these AI agents. So if you went to Lindy and use this framework on the screen right now, and you built a prompt for your own business around this framework, you'd probably get something that you're interested in building upon and configuring that can help with customer acquisition. And then lastly, don't like this picture of me, so I don't even know why I put it on here, but preparing for AEO. This is important. This is where I would tell you, because this all goes to play with your digital presence online, right? Outreach is one thing, but like, you want the AI agents that you build to understand who you are and how people can get in touch with you. But also, you have your own stuff you're going to build, but then the world has its own agents that are looking to find you. And that is something you can 100% control that without a doubt, right? You can't always control if a client wants to do business with you, but you can control how people perceive you. And that is something that I recommend everyone takes very seriously, especially now that people are starting to get leads through ChatGPT, is have it do an audit on your website, on your brand, on who you are, have it do an audit, and just have it help you come up with ways in which you can have a greater presence, a more deeper presence around who it is that you are and what it is that you stand for and your offerings and everything I mentioned before. It's going to help you look at things like coming up with FAQs or certain things. So language models like to ingest content in a certain way, right? Even though some of us have gotten very comfortable with kind of just typing something in, getting a response or an output, the reality is that there's certain things that they actually look for that help. So if you have question and answer type patterns, or you have knowledge bases configured prominently displayed on various landing pages, you have different product lists and things that people come to you for, or just things you want people to know about your business. Maybe you have unique things that you guys do that competitors don't, but you don't always advertise it. Maybe you should put it somewhere on your website or somewhere in the internet around you, and really just start to understand, like, have GPT or any language model, Grok, Gemini, Anthropic, Claude, any one of these, do an audit on you and give it a score out of 10. How much would AI recommend you for what you do in today's world? And if it's above an 8, sometimes it likes to inflate our egos. You can always take that prompt to another environment. And sometimes what I do actually is I tell it that an AI told me this instead of me asking for it, because these language models tend to like to placate humans. But if they know they're evaluating an AI output, they'll actually be a little bit more harsh, if you will. So I kind of actually like to take that approach and methodology. Sometimes I find it to be interesting. But these are the tips I'd recommend. I know we have 10 minutes, so I just wanted to say this very quickly, a couple things. We're going to be offering a deal here. So if you're someone that wants agents and you don't want to have to sit there and try to learn it, you just want to kind of have something quick and easy, we're offering 2 agents. One comes for free if you do a testimonial as part of the first agent experience with us, but $750 for first one-time build, and the second one will be for free. There's no monitoring maintenance, only if you want it. It's a one-time fee. And that's really it, so I'll leave that up there for a second, and then let me go to here. If you want to talk to us, calendar is available as well. 2-week period, I'm offering some 30-minute block sessions. Google reviews, if you thought this was helpful. And LinkedIn, I post a lot around AI and the future of work and business disruption opportunities. So feel free to connect with me there as well. And I'm happy to open up the floor for some questions.
Wonderful, thank you. And Jackie, if you can take down your slides, please, and we will be circulating, as a reminder, slides, offers, LinkedIn, all those good things. So you definitely will not miss any information. Okay, very rich topic. We've got a lot to cover. So I would like to start with, if we could, let's see. Okay, we have many people who are asking about the fundamentals of building or setting up agents. And of course, that could be a whole other session. So what are the top 3 things that someone should keep in mind? And where can they look for more information?
Yeah, so great question. With building out agents, like I said, the things that you want to have business use cases. Don't just build to build, like have business visibility around this. AI is a tool that's supposed to support us with our business growth. So stay focused on that. Don't get hung up in all the things that are out there today. So business objectives, have your business, when you start to nail down what that use case is for the agent, build the documentation around it, build the context around that. Imagine you had to train someone and had to step away from your business for 6 months and rely on that person to do that job. You need to put that level of intellect and depth into that documentation and use that to help support training the AI agent itself. And then obviously pick a trusted platform and a partner if you want someone to support you in it, and stay connected with people that are in this field. I've learned a lot from peers. I've learned a lot from being in networks and talking to people. This is the world of AI. If you're interested in it and the impact to your business, it's so worth being connected to the right people.
And on the subject of connection, is it better, in your opinion, to connect with someone who can do this work for you, or is it best to do this in-house?
a great question. It really depends on your in-house expertise and, without sounding a particular way, how much you value your time. If you're also someone that wants to become AI literate and you see this as a challenge and something that you're excited about, then roll up your sleeves and do it, right? But if you're someone that's like, you know what, I know it's important, but this is not my passion and I'd rather just kind of outsource this and get a partner, then find that people too. I find partners that help us with certain things in our business, trusted partners. That's what it's about. You want to be aligned with people that are like-minded, that get your business, that understand it. But also, like, if you're expanding your team and you want to bring this talent in-house, I have clients that we train them, or people find that talent themselves. That's always a route, and it's not a bad one either, because then you really start to get to self-innovate independently too.
Yes, I love that message. And we come up against this all the time, staying in your zone of genius and then really making the partnerships that let you as a founder shine.
Mm.
Um, Okay, and so we've had a lot of questions about protecting your business idea and your data when using AI. And so knowing that a lot of these AI tools do capture your input, what are some tips for protecting your data aside from, of course, using a tool that is trusted and has been vetted?
Yeah, well, I mean, the obvious is, right. Don't put anything into AI that you wouldn't want to be trained on or exposed. Like, I mean, it's hard to say that. The reality is you these firms are telling us that if you pay for things, you are kind of protected under that umbrella of training. But data minimization, right? Just be smart with what you put in. Privacy, obviously, inspecting that. Encryption. Maybe if you want to get something out of the model, maybe you encrypt the data before you put it in. Like, you don't have to upload everything raw as is. You can change names, you can change, information, and just create like a reference map offline and then upload the dummy stuff, so that let it because it shouldn't change how it should do an analysis for you, but
Mhm.
independently how that maps back to your world. So if you're very conscious around not giving your actual data sets to an AI, then I would say use some sort of encryption or anonymization technique as well. Just, yeah, there's model security things as well. You can always toggle don't train on my data. Yeah, I would just say, but probably the big thing is you can control what you put in, so be smart about it.
Great reminders. Um, and so we have a question about scale, right?
Okay.
Um, At what scale of a business do you recommend using agents for customer acquisition, or really is it kind of scale agnostic because of the efficiency and pattern recognition benefits? I guess it's really to rephrase, when is a business too small to work with agents?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually think that I don't think any business is too small. As long as there's every business at one point needs to make a decision on if they want to scale. And if they want to scale, then you have to be willing to take some sort of risk in order to scale. The way I see it is using agents provides you with a low cost opportunity. I mean, I think about signing up for a platform that potentially could be doing the work of 2 to 3 people on my team for only maybe 90 something bucks a month or something like that, right? That to me has value, right? But it's about what people perceive as value. Um, I don't think any business is too small to use an agent, especially the low no code ones I showed you guys. I would expect anyone that is I mean, even if you make 100,000, or if you're pre-revenue, or just if you're willing to take some sort of a small step, a leap of faith in the right direction, it's worth seeing the outputs. And you can always discontinue these services. You don't need their month to month, right? You're not making a massive investment here. But if you get lead gen, or if you have a workflow that is working for you and that replaced your ability to have to hire 2 to 3 contractors or employees, I mean, isn't that what we all kind of want in terms of just being able to scale and save money? And then also, when you bring people into your business, bringing them in because they provide high value expertise. Um, so I don't want to put a number on it. I think any business could use an agent today.
And you sort of touched on this, but we have had several people ask about balancing AI tools with staffing. And so, what sort of questions can founders ask themselves to help them think through this conundrum?
Yeah. And it is one. You know, And we're watching disruption happen in the market. So there's no hiding in the fact that hiring is slowing down in certain fields, professional services, other spaces where you have a senior individual kind of that wouldn't ordinarily maybe manage or oversee a few juniors. And now the relationship is maybe only one junior and an augmented AI senior and a junior working together. So that dynamic does take place. My recommendation is, if you're not looking to make changes to your workforce, get everyone to become AI literate. I mean, I'm watching these incredible, because you're only going to benefit as a business owner as the more people in your organization that are AI literate. I watched an email go out. I have to get the name of the company of a CEO in San Francisco based company basically said, everyone, I will manage the risk in the organization, but I expect each one of you guys to learn how to use these 5 tools by the end of next year. We need to push people, like all of our businesses, even my people that work in my business. I encourage them all the time. I said, do not come to me with a prototype unless you ran through it with AI and you asked it for honest feedback with using this prompt, right? We have to, if we want to create human-led, high-value businesses and augment our workforce, we need to encourage the people within the workforce to become AI literate.
And one last question having to do with literacy. You mentioned that AI would often like to please and placate the user. And how can a user look out for signs of this and know when to push back or to pressure
They're
test?
great sign. Yeah, and there's definitely been instances. I think it was when ChatGPT 4.0 came out. It was like kissing the ground for all of us. Everything we said was like the best thing and most intelligent thing ever. At one point, I was like, my ego is getting a little too high right now. But know the fact that that's how they're configured. They're configured to be, helpers to humanity in that sense. And so when they know they're conversing with a human being, naturally by default, the responses are going to be not necessarily overinflating all the time. Some of them are neutral, but there are prompts out there that actually wipe out the personality of a language model. And so I would recommend finding that prompt. It's probably somewhere on the internet where it's probably 3 to 5 sentences worth of context that tells the language model, be neutral. You're reviewing an output of another AI or human being, but we do not want to be placated. We don't want our egos inflated here. We want honest, concrete feedback. So, and you can always go from model to model and punch the same thing in and run through the input and see what comes out in each different language model. And then you can decide what feels reasonable and what actually feels authentic. But you can use a prompt to reset the tone.
That's incredible. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been an incredible session. We have all learned so much. So we want to thank you.